Chapter 931. Sharon hesitated to speak. She hesitated for a moment before forcing herself to say, "Sir, we can't resolve the conflict if he's Trevor Penn. He won against Styles Dune. You have to know that he has Tiv's back. So we should." "What do you mean by that?" yelled Samson. Sharon lowered her gaze and said, "Sir, he might not even remember that woman. Everything will be resolved if we make her disappear." Samson sat slowly and instructed coldly, "Tell Tiv to come to my office immediately. I'm taking her to apologize to him. Don't do anything unnecessary." It was not like he had not thought about it. Perhaps Trevor Penn did not remember Tiv and only used her for his temporary pleasure. He had to consider and overthink because of Trevor Penn's identity. The what-ifs plagued his thoughts. What if he did remember, and Samson failed to hand Tiv over to him? What then? Samson could not take the risk. He felt like he should play it safe. He would take Tiv to apologize because it was the best choice. Mistakes had to be owned up. The scary choice would be to stray further on the wrong path. It was a lesson he learned that made him successful. Therefore, he chose the seemingly dangerous decision. Sharon did not say much because she saw that her employer had made up his mind. She could only nod and left. She stood outside and pondered for a long while. Then, she went pale after making 2 phone calls. She slowly walked toward the basement of the backyard after a moment. Samson was extremely anxious and frustrated at that moment. He never expected things to change so drastically. Tiv suddenly became a huge problem for him. He anxiously paced around his office. He shook his head and said after a moment, "No, I have to go there myself to ask for Tiv's forgiveness. Then, I'll apologize to Trevor Penn. It's safer that way." He immediately rushed toward the basement with his subordinates when he thought about that. It was also because he panicked. He should have gone to look for Tiv himself. He should have paid her handsomely for her forgiveness. Then, he could ask Tiv to put in the good word for him in front of Trevor. The incident would be resolved more easily that way. He wanted to slap himself when he thought about that. He made stupid decisions because he panicked. Sharon arrived at the basement at that moment. She passed through the dim corridors and came to the basement door. 2 muscular men guarded the door. They bowed to greet Sharon when they saw her. Sharon worked closely for their employer, and it was rumored that she was his lover, so she had a high status at the casino. "Open the door," said Sharon coldly. They opened the heavy metal door and a wave of rotten stench washed over her. Sharon frowned and walked in. Tiv was barely conscious. She was filthy as she lay there without moving. She occasionally flinched from pain, otherwise, people would think that she was dead. Sharon looked at Tiv, who was extremely weak. Tiv struggled to open her eyes. She squinted to look at Sharon. She was dizzy and her vision was blurry. She only saw a figure standing in front of her. The silhouette made it difficult for her to recognize the person. However, she subconsciously said, "Help me. Please help me. Please help me. I don't know anything. Let me go." Her voice was extremely fragile, and she was slightly blabbering. She used all her might. However, Sharon was indecisive inside. Tiv was a small nobody. They took notice of Wilbur Penn. It was why Tiv ended up in that situation. However, everything changed. Wilbur Penn turned out to be Trevor Penn.